Hi, everybody. Well, here we are, Carly and I, as we said, at 12:12 p.m. in time UCT. And we will be talking about the Baktun 14, the completion of the Mayan prophecy. And along with this Baktun 14, I wrote another code, which is 23.01.23, which actually is linked to what we will be sharing right now. And welcome, Carly.
Thank you for having me, Isha.
Oh, well,
Looking forward to it. We have a lot of numbers.
yes, it has been an amazing ride ever since we encountered in Egypt. And what started a beautiful path and that continues to be. And one of the things that we are sharing in common is precisely what brings us together right here, right now, and which is very important to convey. So thank you for being here, Carly, and thank you for all who are watching at this transmission, this live transmission. And just to be sure, I will be sharing because sometimes the privacy of the videos that I am sharing are only for my friends. So now it is public. Okay. Okay, great. So, well, just a bit of an introduction. How this started is, and what is just behind the image behind me, which is the Dendera calendar, which I consider it a space-time table. A lot of people call it the zodiac calendar of Dendera. I name it the space-time table because actually it's a quantum machinery. It's a quantum device that throws the probabilities, the present probabilities to embody or to inhabit right here, right now. And beautifully aligned, this is what brought me to a very specific date and to very specific codes regarding to the constellation number 14, which I have been talking for a while now, Cetus. We know of Fucus for quite a considerable amount of time now. And yet Cetus, the whale, has been shortly mentioned throughout all the astrology, and it's quite present in all the information in these ancient archives. It's pretty present. It's pretty, and it shows and it's manifesting the importance that it has within all the astrological motion, all the astrological configuration within the human hologram. So when I started decoding this space-time table, and when I say this quantum device and how it can be sort of an oracle, what could be considered as an oracle, is because each of the figures behind is an algorithm, and an algorithm that is continuously throwing different algorithms. How can that be? How can that be? It's just a rock. Well, well, when we open up to a quantum field, we know that everything is continuously configuring. It's continuously being configured. So, this is why I have been focusing actually in even a workshop talking only about this, and which Carly, I had the pleasure to have her, and how all these algorithms are showing not something that happened, something that is happening right here, right now. And before going on live, this is what we were sharing, because One of the things, the information that we will be now sharing is the presence of a specific planet named Nemesis, and which actually is just being present for 2023. So just to set an example of what we will be sharing and how the presence of these planets and of all these interstellar systems are going to drastically influence the human collective, the human conscious collective, and how we are in full sovereignty to, in awareness of this, choose how we are going to breathe this holographic influence within us. So having said this, once I started to connect with this space-time table, and it led me to Cetus, then it led me to Pakal Votan speaking rock. Like how they say, how most people know it is the speaker rock, la roca parlante, which means a rock that is sharing information to you, and they related it to a lot of prophecies. A lot of prophecies meaning things that are quite probable to be happening, not as just by chance, yet very linked and intimately linked to the astrological phenomena that are continuously happening. And this phenomena, in this case for the Baktun 14, is related to Cetus. Cetus coming into the field. Cetus as this stellar, interstellar, or stellar system being pretty participative within all this transition that humanity is facing right here, right now. And the Baktun 14 started in 2012. I'm pretty sure that all of us who are right now connecting through this transmission have heard about this prophecy, this Mayan prophecy about 2012, that many people translated it as the end of the world. And there we had millions of people by the end of the Gregorian year of 2011 waiting for 2012 to come, maybe a meteorite, maybe something collapsing. And well, what it really meant was the conclusion of an era. And this era is linked to precisely astrological movement. And this astrological movement has been going all the way from Ophiuchus to Cetus. And later, in a little bit, Carly will be showing some amazing astral charts precisely to have something more visual so that you can tune into what I am sharing right now, what I'm conveying right now. And yesterday, a friend of mine was asking me, but why do you say 12 zodiac signs? Yeah, 14 zodiac signs. There were 12 apostles, and everything is encoded in the 12. Yes, precisely. Were they truly 12 members around Jeshua or Emmanuel? If we count Emmanuel or Jeshua and Mary Magdalene, are 14. And Ophiuchus and Cetus, what they are portraying through all this frequency are the rising of the so-called Kundalini, or the creative force, which is intimately connected to the Holy Grail. And also Cetus being that level of consciousness in a full potential, the origin, the original human. We can see that whales are one of the most evolved species. The way they communicate within themselves, and also something very important, the true origin to what the whales are. When you go to Wadi El Jitan in Egypt and you see the fossils for the whales who are related to Basilosaurus isis, the suffix is isis, Basilosaurus isis, they are dragons, water dragons. So then we complete the wheel. We are not just putting then Draco, the dragon, and then Cetus over here. No, we are completing the cycle where the whales and the dragon, which is on the bottom for connecting to the serpent and the, like you can see that even in sacred, like sacred and ancient texts, like Kabbalah, the Torah, the Sefer Yetzirah, like Quran, in the Bible. When we see all these texts encoding the creation, the moment of creation, they all talk about the dragon. And the dragon as being the guardian of all times. And even you can see how they link the let's say the ascended masters or the prophets to the dragons. So now we are connecting through Cetus, the whole so-called Ouroboros, in order for the snake or dragon to fully in motion itself through the torus motion. So having said this, I would love, Carly, from everything that you have shared, like when we started now connecting with all this information, and when you started consulting the astral charts, which actually it was you who told me the connection astrologically wise of the movement of Uranus in Cetus since 2012.
Yes. Well, we've had a few big, I think when you were first having me look at Cetus. And Cetus also, like from an astrological kind of mythology perspective, was always looked at as like the whale, but also the like in a negative way, right? It was always like the collective unconscious that's like gonna eat itself, like it's gonna. And of course, we always have a way of doing that, right? Taking something that's of a very high, beautiful expression, and then kind of just expressing the shadow side of it. So Cetus, when I was first looking at it, I was really interested because it was going to look at larger collective cycles, being the collective unconscious whale, so to speak. And the first thing that we saw was before the 2012 connection was that Uranus's transit from Difta, being the beginning of Cetus, the alpha star, and then the beta star being Menkar. So moving through the whole constellation. So it's activating the whole transit and that movement. And that was Uranus's last transit through Cetus would have been 84 years ago, which would be about the announcement time of World War II, right? It's when we kind of had that that movement in the collective, so to speak. And so that was the first thing that we looked at, was Uranus. And then Jupiter was what, let me just pull up here real quick. So we have, so we had Uranus that was starting the transit of
Do you want to share screen? Yes.
Well, it's not going to have, first I'll say this and then I'll show, because I don't have a visual for this one.
Okay.
So Uranus started the transit through Cetus, hitting Difta exactly on February 23rd, 2012. So that was the first kind of indicators, interesting transit that stood out. And then Uranus would continue its transit, moving from Difta through the Cetus constellation to Menkar, hitting exact at 14 degrees of Taurus on January 23rd, 2023.
Which actually, I'm going to break a parenthesis right now, to open a parenthesis. When we are talking about all this movement in between Uranus and Taurus and Cetus, here are very important codes within. I'm just going to mention two of them right now. The first one is that Uranus is considered for the Mayans the twin to the Earth, being Uranus the feminine and being the Earth the masculine, that it's coming to remember all the path in order to connect to something very specific mainly, and that's telepathy. And how do whales communicate? Through sonoric locations. And that could be, well, not could be, actually, that's what telepathy means, because you are emitting your waves and that frequency is hitting the other informational field of the other person. And then you are consciously connecting with those codes. So that's one thing which is very important. So if you ask yourself, okay, but yes, it's very interesting, yet how does this helps or supports within human evolution? First is awareness. Once you're aware of how energy is moving, and let's say that as how I see the stellar systems and the interstellar systems and the planets are anchors and pulses that generate a specific intermittence within our human hologram. So the intermittence is going to dictate the way that we are portraying and unfolding in our reality. So if the intermittence, like what it is Sirius right now, and what was ever since 2012, because this would represent Uranus all going through the alpha star Divda in Cetus, all the way to Menkar being the beta. So that represents a huge loving and caring motion in order to remember. Like imagine Uranus through the field of Cetus, which represents the nose, the zenith, and the nadir, like boom. Let's say, like, yes, it's like the torsion, the motion of the torsion, deep. And that's what humanity has been facing ever since 2012. Like it started very loving and caring. Oh, we're in a new era. We're coming to the awakening. And then as it started to hit Menkar, boom, 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 all the way to 2012 and until 2022. And now that you mentioned Taurus, and this is hugely important because Taurus is connected to Aldebaran, and Aldebaran is the gateway, the bull's eye connecting to Alcyon or Alcyone or Alcyon. If we decode the word Alcyon is to Sion.
Mm.
So then again, to all those consciousness of the Christic consciousness of the Christic particle coming to enlighten the human hologram because we are light. So it's opening, it's a gateway, it's a gateway.
Lots of action around that gateway right now.
Yes.
Do you want me to keep going with kind of handoffs, or do go into?
Well, you mentioned also the what happened 84 years ago, the
Yes.
last time that Uranus hit Divda and Menkar, which was the well, actually Menkar, which was the Second World War, the beginning of the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
Of
Mm-hmm.
course, we are not in the same level of consciousness, so we won't have the same results. However, it's very important to know, to bring that awareness, to see if the field, if the electromagnetic field with in between the correlation of those interstellar movement is influencing in a specific way, then be aware enough to know how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and as you were saying before, with the, I think what's so important at this moment in time with the energies that are moving, that there's the the energy signature, like the music is very clear. The rhythm, it's coming, the wave is coming, it's going to have a certain impulse, a certain energy to it. But how it manifests as for individuals and within the collective is completely unique and up to us and up to conscious choice. There are
Yes,
many different ways that the energy can take form depending on where our thoughts are, and why this transition, and I think Cetus and Uranus coming through and moving, why it's so important that that if we are able to have very high awareness right now, if consciousness is at a certain point, to be very clear with the thoughts and with the energy points and these gateways that are coming in. They're they can be used for incredible, powerful transformation, and all opportunities are on the table.
exactly.
Yes. So hopefully, but as you're saying, the collective, or what comes out in the world, is likely going to be things that will try to show the opposite of that.
The thing is this, and this is a very important topic. If we have all this information and we are coming to expand in the number of people who is in a specific state of awareness, then, and if the universe, everything starts and everything is mentalism. So the more we come to enrich our inner power, don't look outside, don't look like, well, of course, look wherever you want to look. The thing is that when we are doing our own labor, when we are doing our own thing that corresponds to us, then nourishing and feeding with our sacred energy things, whatever you choose, it's you that you're giving the power to it within your sovereignty. Whatever you think of, whatever you believe in, whatever you are focusing your thoughts at every moment, that's what you're giving life to.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like all this information, as you said, it's the moment. It's like an artist. When an artist, well, we are all artists.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going through in a specific entanglement energy, like you have the energy, like all the way expanding and pulsing, and you're pretty sensible, then it's the moment where you create the best pieces of art. And this also can translate that when you are amplified energetically, like if I have received a lot of comments of people saying that these days they have been feeling like energetically overwhelmed, and most of them like in maybe rough bed, you
Mm.
know. If we see this as informational field, just as information, it's energy, boom, 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 pulsing deeply and intense. So the moment you identify with the conscious and unconscious collective, then you're going into the illusion.
Mhm.
Because even what we name as love, what we name uh, sadness, what we, it's just a result of frequency, and that's what gets to be related as good or as bad. So if we just take the energy and then we focus it to what we choose to
Mhm.
create right here, right now, like
Mhm.
we were just talking yesterday, and both of us were like, "Ooh, there's a lot of energy," you know. And then we come to choose what we give life to, one by one by one by one, because this has been a deep message within the ancient civilizations.
Mhm.
The oneness, the one. We are one. The moment each one of us comes to embody that oneness by experiencing consciously through the universe, and assuming that everything that I am perceiving as a reality is the feedback of my own creation. It's just a projection, that famous mirroring.
Mhm. Mhm. And from an astrological perspective, also how the planets or what stream of consciousness they're communicating with us, right, as part of us, what they represent. Uranus is the individuation, the freedom. If the moon, if we look at evolutionary astrology, how we are evolving, how consciousness is evolving, the moon being more of our kind of disillusioned self or our ego self, our kind of constructed, conditioned.
Yes.
Uranus being when we break free and we start to individualize, and so that energy is moving through the collective, and it's been doing its cycle. And what is it preparing for, as we will go into Neptune's movement, which is the spiritualization, the individualization, the full connection to love, to oneness, that is able to then anchor itself afterwards. So Uranus kind of clears the table, right? Uranus is the one that gets in there and it's like, if you haven't fixed it, I'm going to help you. I'm going to bulldoze it until it's fixed. and so, and then, and then Neptune can come, can come in. So it's a very, exciting.
Yes. Well, now that you have mentioned Neptune, there is also something happening, because if we look at the Baktun, there are periods of 20 years, 20,
Mhm.
let's say 20 Gregorian years.
Mhm.
It's something also very important to mention is that the Mayans have a different counting that what it's called the Gregorian calendar. Because also when I started remembering all of this, then the message of restoring the system of time as we know it, like, because time, it's not, well, it has been considered as, what, do you want to know what time is? As Einstein used to said, look at your clock, that's time. There you go. However, if we go further, that belief of time, then we're talking about the, well, as how I call it, is the essential cosmic pulse.
Hmm.
It's all about intermittence. And even if we see at the constant, the unique constant, space-time, it's just boom, boom, boom. We cannot have time without space because it's marking in a specific point of the Cartesian plane, as to say it somehow. So, and that, what's that? Intermittence, the beaming of the star, the beaming of a pulsar. So the Mayans have let's say a syncing system that communes the solar frequency and the lunar frequency. So when they come together, they create an algorithm which is 1320. And the whereas the Gregorian calendar is a counting of 1260. So again, the 12 is very present as the 12 zodiac signs. Why? Because what we can even see at these creation manuals or manuals of creation of this reality in these ancient texts, the 12 is the algorithm which this simulation was encoded. It's a very important number. However, there were missing 2 in order to reach the 14. A very tangible example that a lot of people can get related to was the one that I mentioned about the 12 apostles. You know, it's like, yes, there are 12, and even the edges of a cross are 12. The 13 is the center. That's why it's 12 plus 1, 13, which is also the 12 DNA genes regarding to the galactic lineage. And then when we come to enlighten, then we are the 13. Then where is the 14 coming? The 14 will be the circle fulfilling the whole experience, which is the potential energy related to the feminine energy, holding the space for the inner arc to expand, to ignite. And therefore, these 20 years of, because one of the measurements that the Mayans count are like they order, or they classify the cycles of time in Katun, Baktun, and Tun. So the Baktun, which is the Baktun 14, is equivalent to 20 Gregorian years. So the 20 started in 2012 and will be finishing in 2000 and, well, let's say after the 2012, then we started like 2013, let's say. So it will be finishing in 2033. 2033, we are in the middle, being now 2022. So the cycle after 10 years has finished of Uranus transit within Cetus. And now, in every 11 years, Jupiter comes for 1 year and 3 months and will be showing up in 2023 in hitting in Divda all the way to 2024 to Menkar. And Jupiter representing for the Mayans all this linked to the materialistic reality, which can be perceived in many ways because everything is materialism. I mean, we are matter. So that's the thing about perception. And that's the thing that everything is updated. And there are, for instance, Mayans that don't recognize the countdown of, for instance, of Telectonon and all of these varieties that have come integrating new information as how I see it's updates. However, for me, everything is updating. It's even in science. When Darwin used to express his theory about the origin of to human, even he said, okay, don't take this for granted. My theory is going to evolve, so don't marry to it, you know? So everything is coming to evolve and to integrate more information, which is crucial to evolution. Otherwise, we would be like stuck in a loop. And even though the infinite itself, it's a loop, it's like, now what are we evolving into that very same loop? You
Mm-hmm.
know, what kind of information, the order within the information. So yes, you were saying about Neptune and now Jupiter. Well, before 2025, Jupiter is in 2023 being present now in Cetus.
Yes. And doing its cycle. I mean, there's just all of the transits are so related. They're so interdependent and one right after the other. And
Mhm.
that's why it's it's such a fascinating time.
Yes.
Uh, but we have, you know, Uranus that did its transit. Well, technically, actually, Jupiter hit Menkar in 2012. In April of 2012, then it does its 11-year cycle.
Exactly.
Uranus started with Difta in 2012. So we have this energy that's being, as I was telling you last night, right? It's like the planets are like handing off the fire. It's like, okay, we've got it in. And then they hand off to the other one, and then the other one goes through. So Uranus, yes, being a much larger cycle and really getting into the collective psyche, being the match to Cetus, really. And then Jupiter does its expansion on more of an individual level as well. It's preparing us and expanding, creating space for the new choices, giving breath, opening up possibilities. So Uranus can be a little bit more aggressive with how it takes down what is unnecessary and maybe things that we want to hold on to, but they don't serve a purpose anymore. So Uranus can be a little bit more aggressive in that way, but then Jupiter with its transit starting in January until 2024 is really a beautiful opening for the individual to come into higher possibilities, to choose to bring that Jupiter energy into their awareness and into their, it's a wonderful gateway, actually. We have
Yes.
space. We'll have space. It's like space created for about a year and a half, and then it kind of gets
Yes, it has been that motion, you know, like that, let's say an accordion, boom, 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 boom. That's why it's so important to bring the Taurus consciously, because it's happening anyway. When I mean that the time is facing a torsion, it's not saying that that universal motion stops because it says, oh look, humans, they are not ready. Okay, let's give them the time for that days
right.
to do their needs. Yes. Of course, like, life is happening anyway. The thing that bringing it to the consciousness, into awareness, is to give the power to own our own faith and destiny, to be the axis to our own reality. Otherwise, it's like being, okay, here comes the wave, you know, and not even noticing until it hits you, you know. So it's knowing that, okay, there comes a wave, I'm going to swim under, and how am I going to face it? Because also, when look, the everything that we are sharing right now, and what it's leading to, and what I have been speaking for a couple of years now, is a code that I am proposing, the code 444, which is the communion of all this information and the purpose to it, in order to give the tools, the energetical tools that will allow the human hologram to surf these waves. Because let's say that time system is collapsing, like the Gregorian calendar is collapsing. Why is this so important? Because in quantum physics terms and in physics terms, this is just incoherence. It's like you are a full potential. Imagine the sun. The sun is its full potential. Hadn't it been its full potential, then it would generate a coherence, and then it will collapse. And this is what has been happening to humanity. The thing is that throughout all this manipulation of algorithms, due to how this reality was created, it had been able to expand the let's say the field of error, of anomaly, to expand it, to let's say, to dilatate it, to make it wider, to hold to it. However, it cannot be held anymore. That range of anomaly cannot be held anymore. So this is why, and in as a universal correlation, NASA has now, has recently admitted or come to acknowledge that there is what they call the local fluff, which is a local cloud, a photon cloud, which is influencing the Oort cloud, that is this huge bubble around the solar system. I relate this with what in the ancient scripts was called as the dome, and then it was translated as this huge capsule in which human was being kept as a captive. However, if we go beyond all those anathemas of division and separation, and beginning of countries, religions, skin color, languages, because this is also something very important in the Mayan cosmogony, when they talk about the Babel Tower, like the Babylon and all of this. For me, it's very important now to update the connotation that was given to all those cultures and civilizations. Because what if as a result of all this experiencing as humans, is just remembering that there was never a separation? Like what has been conceived as duality and antagonist forces, that doesn't exists because the conscious collective has created it. However, it was just a way to experience oneself in order to come back to remember that it's the oneness, just energy moving, just informational fields moving from one way to another. And what create the abysm was the belief that there was a separation. So codes are, that's another topic otherwise. Anyway, we will have another talk now that I'm there with you physically, and we will be going to Palenque actually, and we will be recording the second part of all this information that we are sharing. In what a better place than Palenque, where they found this space-time table of Pakal Botan, and which is just the same quantum devices as the Dendera space-time table. So you were mentioning something. Well, everything that you have mentioned is very important. Um, when you, I would, if you can please show the charts so that
Yeah.
people can see how uh, concentrated, how compressed the planets are within Cetus transit. That would
Yes.
be amazing.
Yes. Let me, because my desktop is, hold on just 1 second while I get the right. So there are, let's start, should we start with 23? Let's start with 23. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So March of next year, 2023, a lot begins, well, really right now. But January, February, and then we have this acceleration that starts in March. And that acceleration has to do, if you look here, I know I have some things kind of, so if we've got one with my notes on it. But here is Difta. Here is Menkar. Isha, are you able to see when I'm like putting
Yes.
my, okay.
Yes.
And so this is the Cetus constellation here. It runs across Aries and Menka and Taurus. Nemesis is actually, this is where its placement is, just in March of next year, kind of right in the middle of the constellations. But what's interesting about this time that if you are unfamiliar with astrology, is very rare, is that, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, these planets have very large orbits, which means they don't move very far, very often. So when they are all in a high concentration, these are really abnormal configurations, or more rare configurations, let's call it. And so here, what is really interesting about this time is that if you almost think of that accordion, right, it's like all of the planets are starting to kind of concentrate around this Cetus constellation. And it begins in March of next year. And then it's sort of from March of next year, then it kind of breaks apart again. It breathes. And then it comes back. You see my messy little desktop here. And then now we're jumping to the following year. So this is March 12th of 2024. And if you'll notice, we get even more condensed. I
Yes.
mean, this is so tight. And it's tight around Cetus constellation, which also happens to be, if you notice here, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus. Aries and Taurus being the beginning, technically, in the 12 zodiac, in a more traditional outset, and Aquarius and Pisces being the end, right? So we have a major concentration again that comes as Neptune is preparing to come into Aries, the beginning, the next cycle. It's finishing off in Pisces. It's dissolving where it's come from and beginning into its next cycle. The last time that Neptune was here would have been 160 years ago. And so these are the energies that, again, I guess, go ahead, Isha, if there's anything you want to add to this or have me point out.
Well, the pathway in between 2023 and 2024, which how I see it and how I perceive it, is the preparation of 2023 is the presence of nemesis. Actually, that once you finish sharing this screen, I will be showing it in the Dendera calendar, because that's also another thing that was pointed out through this. Through the reading of this space-time table, the presence of nemesis, which, as Carly was mentioning, each planet has a specific frequency and influencing in a specific way the human hologram. So when I say the human hologram, it's from the holographic field. It's like everything that it's pretty related to astrology and how these stellar systems influence the human behavior. Why? Because let's say that within the human hologram, everything is about pulses and algorithms, So those algorithms are in resonance with the algorithms within within the human hologram to the stellar systems, and they start to resonate, and the interstellar systems become the alpha waves. So the waves within the human hologram become influenced, and unless the human hologram becomes the alpha wave, and that's where the conscious choice starts. So because even we can see that the wheel is clockwise, anti-clockwise. All that has to do with the zodiac system, the zodiac calendar, or the zodiac wheel, they go anti-clockwise, meaning by this that are aspects that shall be transcended, that shall be torsioned. And even we can see that, as you were mentioning to me yesterday, that the lunar nodes go clockwise. So meaning by this that once everything is being torsioned, then we would have energetically, by this I mean, as well as what's it's expressed about the energetic pulse of the earth shifting, is that if you try to explain that to your brain, maybe you can have a few moments in order to to try to find a way. How is that going to happen? And in a couple of hours, one day, by how the Mayan count is leading all the way to 2033. So anyway, when we are talking about all these energetic shifts and clockwise, anti-clockwise, is the fact of, as again, everything is and delivers from mentalism, then we're capable, if everything is energy, then we're capable to play with the forces, the inner forces. So 2023, in being nemesis representing this part of the highest pitch that it can get to anything. The funny thing is that it has been interpreted as the antagonic part. Like, here comes your nemesis. Well, what it etymologically means is that is the highest aspect of anything. Let's say the zenith. So now nemesis being throughout all this correlation in between Uranus and Jupiter, like Uranus leaving Benkar and coming Jupiter and making act of presence, then it's amplifying. So it's the perfect opportunity to manifest whatever we are. And that's just going to show even more. So this is why it's so important, all that mirror principles, like we are mirrors. What we are bringing to the conscious and unconscious collective is what we truly are, not what we say we are, is what we truly are. So if you see nemesis as your antagonist, then that's what you are bringing to yourself. If you see like nemesis as the pitch perfect opportunity to manifest whatever you are, then you're going to bring it into you and do whatever you need to do in order to manifest what you truly wish from coherence. So, because now it's just in 2023, the presence of Nemesis. Then in 2024, Nemesis is not anymore. And we can see, I'm going to share the screen. To show to you. Okay, this is Pakal. And we can see all these devices, this high technology devices, as well as this spaceship he's traveling in. Well, okay, here we have the Dendera space-time table. I just want to show to you this famous situs that I am talking about. Here in this image, they don't have the leash, let's say, that is normally in between the tails. I'm going to I don't see. Okay. I will stop sharing. I will find another one because I can also. Okay, I'm here. Well, if you want to, I will show it in a little bit so that you can see. I will, if you can, in the meantime, share a little bit, please, about also what we were looking at 2025, the beginning, the last part of 2025, the 21st of December, where actually there is a very important astrological manifestation of a very interesting trinity in between Uranus, Ophiuchus, Cetus, and then being a fourth point, Jupiter. Because the thing about Ophiuchus and Cetus being, let's say, that the Nadir and the Zenith is that before the transit of Cetus in this time, in 1984, there was Ophiuchus transit with Uranus, like Uranus transiting all the way of Ophiuchus. So any of those topics that you want to share? Yeah. Okay.
So I was trying to pull it up here. So the one that I have, this is December 21st, 2025. So this is what you were referring to, is some more interesting interdependencies, let's say. So we have, over here is where Ophiuchus would be, right? And then we have over here with Diphda. And Uranus has now passed Cetus and is over Alcyon. That's what you were referring to, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So now it's starting to bring in a new energy, which is in relationship with both Ophiuchus and Diphda. And again, what's really interesting right here, this is where we're having some very big changes. 2025 is when we get a first glimpse of a lot of these energies coming, these changes here. What I'm referring to mostly is this Neptune move into Aries. And so this is what's coming through right before, right? So we're in December of 2025. And then coming into 2026, Neptune will officially go direct into Aries. Saturn will also be going direct, right afterwards into Aries. So this is officially like right the moment before. If we were to think of this as we've talked about many times, Isha, right? Like we're taking this big breath right now. this preparation. We already know energetically, consciously, these energies have already been moving. You were referring to telepathy before. It makes me think of that. So, we're connecting up with a larger grid. The consciousness is active and in communication in a higher, non-physical sort of way. Once these energies really go direct and move into Aries, we're in full manifestation. So it's from a form perspective. From a
Yes.
form
Yes.
perspective, we
Abracadabra.
yeah.
Well, the thing is that it's a preparation, because if we are talking about unity and being and embodying and the fifth dimension, as how I call it, the fifth evolutive scale, it's or scale of evolution, it's how can it be experienced if it's not being embodied, if everything is a reflection? So it's all about that. It's just a preparation for being, not like fully being. And when you say about Alcyon and Pleiades, why? As I was mentioning in the beginning, that what's the connection in between what's going on now from the Photon's belt in Alcyon, which this is also mentioned in the Mayan cosmogenesis, as part of all this transit into the fifth dimension, is because, let's say that if we have a photon belt around Alcyon, it's expanding all these these light codes, boom, 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 boom. However, this reality of simulation was created through interferential waves. Like how we see the GPS and all these technological devices, how they get to transfer the information is through interferential waves. So here we have this interferential field, boom, 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 generating a reality. And then we have here all the solar flares, and we have all these photon packages of information coming all the way from Alcyon. And of course, as soon as they hit the field of these interferential waves, they create a distortion. And this, what generates in human hologram is a tension, an energetic tension that you're trying to breathe in all those informational fields. And the more conscious you are, the more aware of what is truly going, that you're capable to go beyond. Because as I was telling you, mostly for me, knowing all this information and all these codes is to know the what, not trying to interfere in the when, because the when is already being given, as well as the what. The thing is that we get to choose the how. And when we know everything that is going on, it's an act of love and of coherence toward ourselves, because you're taking the time to know what's going within, inside, not even in the outside, what's going in the inside. So then it starts to generate coherence within. So this photon belt around Alcyon is, of course, compressing all the light codes and expanding them. If we consciously open this gateway in between the inner sun and the blue sun, because it's also an update, to the blue sun, as how I call it, is the water sun, the sun of water, like all these primordial codes of water within.
Yes.
So, and this is how I like, one of the ways that I have been connecting through the primordial codes of the molecular structure of water, because then you're connecting right through your origin. So because all this transference of the Alcyon sun, the blue sun, is the update for what we can consider serious, being the origin to human hologram to the Adam Kadmon, like this, the egg and the seed, the interstellar seed, and we can consider Alcyon as the next move, which is all simultaneously existing. The thing is that to keep, let's say, a relation of order between all of this information. So even if we see Hathor, which like the calendar of the space-time table of Dendera, it's Dendera's temple, which was raised to Hathor. Hathor is it's a very important neter, because it's a trinity within Isis, Hathor, and Sekhmet. And when we see the codes of Hathor, we see the serpent and we see the horns and we see the cow. Let's say we see the serpent and we see the cow, which means for the cow, Taurus, and which means for the serpent, Pleiades, because the Mayans would call Tzabek the Pleiades, which means the tail of the serpent, the bell, the cascabel, la serpiente de cascabel. And also it's connected, like the seven sisters, connected to the seven stars of the septentrional, which were called the seven oxes in the Big Dipper. So when we talk about, for instance, all these Anunnaki and Nibiru, well, it's pretty related to Cyrus, actually, to Sirius. And coming all the way from the septentrional and going all the way to the gateway through Pleiades, and then coming from Aldebaran all the way to then Cyrus, and then to Orion, and then to the Earth. Because there is something very important, and I'm just going to mention it so that each one who is watching this transmission can fill in the lines as however they feel like. When they are considered the seven planets, because the Earth is encoded in seven, and this is why the 14 is also a very important number, because it's the double of the seven. And the Earth is, if each planet within the solar system, like here, each country has an area code. Each planet has an area code, and the area code of the Earth is 7. 7, because even the human resonance of the Earth is 7.8. So if we double that 7, let's say 7, we have a sphere and we have a cube. Now we double that cube in order to create the octahedron. Then we have a double 7, which is a 14. Now, if we and 14 is aligned to Cetus, and also there is a very important hieroglyph within the hypostyle that it shows 14 neteru, or 14 archetypes. Let's say, I always go beyond the archetypes. It's just consciousness, level of consciousness, and they are all heading to the moon, all heading to the mind. And anyway, by this I mean that all this transit to the Pleiades and Alcyon, how you showed in the chart, is the preparation for that moment to happen. To, even though and because of this, and thanks to that all of this is happening, we are able to magnify the let's say the tube that is connecting us to the central sun of Alcyon, of Alcyone, which is the blue sun. Let's say from the front to Alcyon, from the back, from the coccyx to Sirius. To to the 8 original cells, which also leads to the main geometries. And anyway, look, I'm going to share a screen about now quickly the space-time table.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dendera space-time table. Okay. You see?
Yes.
Okay. Well, here we have, do you see the two fishes of Pisces? Here. In my right side, we have the Pisces. We have Pisces. Do you see them?
Yes.
Yes. Let me see if I can. Okay.
Yeah, you might want to highlight them.
Yes, this is what I'm finding, because in Zoom I can easily find them. I'm finding a way also here. Okay. Do you? Yes.
Yes. You create. Yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Great. So here we have the two fishes for Pisces, and we see that some figure is holding the, let's say, leash or the conjunction to them. This figure that is holding, it's Cetus. So Cetus do connects with the solar ecliptic and the equator during March. So here we have also, then we have the moon. Here we have the moon. And here we have the sun that I'm pointing it out. Okay, and here we have Nemesis. So this is why I am telling that this space-time table is throwing the present probabilities to be inhabited. And we can see here Aquarius, like all the area of Aquarius and all the algorithms within the stars. But anyway, it's just a quick share about precisely about Cetus, and how Cetus is aligned here to Ophiuchus, which is actually even pointing the fish. You see, can you see it? Yes.
Ophiuchus being right underneath the Scorpio.
Exactly, above. Well, yes. Yes, yes. This is Ophiuchus precisely, and we can see how the fish, one of the fishes to Pisces, the one connecting to the moon, is directly heading Ophiuchus, and the other one is directly heading Sagittarius, which also leads Sagittarius. Mm. Which also leads to what's happening on right now too in what I was saying about the local fluff, because the local fluff is coming from Sagittarius. Yes, I know. It's coming from Sagittarius, from Centaurus, from Alpha Centauri, and it's all the way appearing from that point. So can you imagine how two photon clouds emerging together would influence now this time, because that's also an influence that's happening. And they are generating a torsion, a big torsion within in order to merge. So can you imagine a torus, when a torus brings itself back within and then expands and then restores and then expands? Well, that's what these two photon clouds are generating together. So this translated into the algorithms, the intermittence of time, it and having a pulse of incoherence as the Gregorian calendar, then it's creating like an electroshock, like, something is hitting, but you cannot. This is why it's so, you cannot do something about it unless you choose to. And that would mean letting and letting all those obsolete time systems collapse within its own it's their own nature to them. They fulfilled its purpose. Now it's time to move on and restore the true time, the true essential cosmic pulse. So next time that we come together, now that we are in Palenque, I will be sharing among what you will be sharing, because there is still there are a lot of things to share. And one of the things that I will be sharing is what does this 444 code, 444 code mean, and how do we start from next year, because it will start next year. And it's a countdown precisely for when 2025 happen. All this time of preparation that we were talking about, like it crushes, well, it not crushes, it compresses, then it releases after all this experimentation and like all these all the wisdom generated from these experiences of compression, we get to embody them before 2026, where everything is going to compress again through Neptune and Pluto and Mars. And so this 444 code is going to energetically tune in the hologram for that all those anchors within related to the Gregorian calendar, because there are anchors related to the moon. That's why also the moon has a big impact in reproductive system within the human, the feminine cycles of bleeding. And there is also very important holographic encoding with the crow, because the raven, because let's say that matrix follow the white rabbit, meaning the configuration of time, just that constellation below Orion, we have the rabbit. The rabbit is related to the moon. The moon is related to the anchors of time. And before being the rabbit, it was considered the raven. Actually, here in the data space-time table, we see it as a raven. And the raven is connected to the capability of going beyond, in between dimensions, like full holographic spectrum. And so when I mention this, I invite you to perceive it from the holographic reality field, from the quantum field, because that's an easier way to actually grasp how that could be happening. If we visualize it all in geometries and in algorithms, then if you visualize a truly raven going from dimension to dimension, he says, you can say like, what is she talking about? Yet when you see that the raven is a code, it's a hologram, and that code has anchors that connect to the time system through the numerical codes. And you imagine this map, this huge map of the cosmos, of the, not even the cosmos, the solar system. You visualize all this map, this holographic map. And you can see how each stellar system has a specific frequency and beaming that generates an impact on the human hologram, which is encoded in Orion.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the pyramids are not only the Giza pyramids. The pyramids are encoded in the Orion's belt, because let's say they open the human belt, which is the belly button and the inner sun. And what is this reality? How does people say they are being affected? Through the wheel. I can, I can't.
Hmm.
With the will within, we are capable of everything. We choose to embody. So, well, we could go on and on and on. However, we will be going on after we reach each other in the physical field now, and I will be sharing information which day precisely. We are going to be in the jungle, so we might be doing a live. It depends on how the Wi-Fi is going on there. We are going to, either way, we will be filming and recording our encounter in the jungle in Palenque. Whether if it is a live transmission or not, it depends on the Wi-Fi. And we will continue to deliver these codes, the information within these codes. And well, stay tuned. And I don't know if you want to say anything else, Carly, for now.
I think we had a lot in the first part here, and thank you for having me share with you, Isha, and everyone that was here. And I hope if there's any questions too, maybe what we can do is put together some of the dates in a more like just something that's a little bit like visual to see for people to connect with on their own also. Might be nice, because there are a lot of them. Even for me, I've got like 8 lists. So thank you. Everybody has a great holiday and a beautiful new expansive year that's coming in for all of us.
Thank you. And yes, that's an amazing idea. We besides the other video that because people will be able to access to this video as many times as they want, to the other one that we will be uploading as well, and also like nourish it with all the visuals that you were mentioning now, and me also with all the code for 144 written for those who want to embody this frequency in order to solve the torsion that is happening already within the time system and the updating, because once you update your hologram through all these algorithms, then the capability of receiving the updates coming all the way from Alcyon and coming from all the other interstellar systems that are now nourishing the earth with all these updates, then it's easier on your hologram to embody it. Like I say, surfing it. It's
Yes.
you're enjoying it. You're surfing the field. So
Just to add to that a little bit, that it kind of remind what's been coming in a lot with the Uranus, with the clearing, and the Jupiter, is how important it is to choose with full commitment. I've been doing a lot of like inner child work and coming back and understanding that, like, I want, and what the want is underneath the want, that the true want, the true desire that's coming through, the timelines are collapsing. And so the more that we can get, the interference comes from when we are still looking at multiple possibilities, but it's like, what you want. You know where the heart is, where the alignment is. So give that all of the attention and all of the commitment in moving forward, so that there's less interference in the yes.
no, this is beautiful. This is beautiful, simple, and so right, so precise. Yes, yes. I agree. I agree. The path of evolution, even though it would seem more complex because of all of this information, once you acknowledge this information within, it becomes simpler.
Yes.
It's simple within the complexity because you know, we know, each one of us knows. Yes, that is that intuitive voice. So, okay. What else? Yes, we will be sharing that. And well, until next time, we will be meeting before New Year's, Gregorian New Year's Eve, because it's very important for those who are in resonance with this information to come together, to unite in order to tune into the natural cosmic pulse and focus our energy in what we choose to create as a reality right here, right now. When we say that it's every time simpler, is because what we focus our energy in is what we are giving life to. And even though this has been always, right now is more, it's clearer, it's more subtle, it's here. So, well, thank you again for watching this transmission. Thank you for your comments. If you have questions, as Carly was saying, please write all your comments and questions that you would like for us to be deepening in next time that we are transmitting. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. It's beautiful to be sharing this information from this Mayan land, this Mexica land, and connecting it with the Egyptian codes, the Kemetic codes, because we are one. We are one. Everything is coming together. And from the OMNIVISION, this is what it is, a unified consciousness inhabiting right here, right now, as the creator and the creation itself.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.